What's up, podcast listeners? It's Andy and Drew here, back with another episode of the What's Up Castleberry podcast.
I love that, Drew. You said back. Like, we're back. You missed us, but we're here.
We're on episode 22. We're chugging right along. We are so happy that you have joined us today for today's conversation. And let me tell you, it is a good one. We have a fantastic guest, Pastor Andre Martin. And speaking of pastors, Andy and I are pastors, but most importantly, we're residents of Castleberry, and we love to have conversations about Castleberry, for the good of Castleberry, about Castleberry-related issues. Andy, I love the podcast platform in general. Every week, you're hearing yourself, you're getting a chance to see and hear and talk to others about what's going on in Castleberry. And I got to tell you, I love our listeners, especially our listener feedback. So thank you, listeners, for engaging with us more and more. That's all I got. That's my open.
I thought you were going to set me up. But
what's going on with you, Andy?
You put a period where I was looking for a colon or a comma, but thank you. So yes, I love this podcast platform as well. You know, it was funny. I've been meeting with some folks over the last few days, and I realized that our podcast is helping me sound smart. Now, I'll take all the help I can get with doing that because I'm not naturally a particularly smart person. But I was having a conversation about one area of city life, and I thought, oh, I heard about that from the city manager. He said it on the podcast. And I relayed that information, and the guy looked at me like, hey, you're pretty smart. So maybe that's another string in our bow that if you listen to the podcast, it helps you understand our city so that you can speak well of it and play your part as a responsible member.
That's right. Maybe people will even go back to school, grad school, get your doc, whatever. It clearly, there's some brain power.
Maybe that's our next enterprise from this podcast. What's Up Castleberry U? I don't think we can get accredited, but maybe we could give some certificates out for someone who listened to, 5 episodes, 10 episodes, something like that.
Speaking of certificates, rankings, important metrics, you set me up there. For our Castleberry in the News segment, we are interested, based on a conversation we had in a previous episode with City Manager Randy Newland and Bill Hufford. These two gentlemen mentioned that one of the goals for Castleberry, looking ahead the next 5 to 10 years, is that there is a real desire from our city officials and leadership to make Castleberry more walkable and bikeable. I believe it was Bill that even said he wants to see us become the most bikeable and walkable city in all of kind of Central Florida, greater Orlando region. And there is, Andy, I don't know if you knew this, but there is a website called walkscore.com.
It's not one of my frequently visited sites. No, really? I did check it out in preparation for this discussion, though.
There's some interesting notes there. Walkscore.com goes literally by state, and I'm sure it's people that drive through, walk around, bike through particular towns in the state of Florida, and gives a composite ranking based upon the city's walkability, its public transportation, and its bike ability. And so as I was Googling and looking at walkscore.com, here's the numbers for Castleberry. We are ranked 34 is our metric for walkability, 22 for transit, and 49 for bike. And that,
are they out of 100?
Yeah,
is that a percentage?
I think maybe they're out of 100. There was no city that scored a perfect 100 on any of these, so There's obviously room for improvement. Maybe if you just paved everything and took away every single building and only made it bike lanes, maybe that's 100%. I don't know. But in comparison to some other areas in Central Florida, for example, Winter Park was at the top of the metrics for Central Florida and had a walk score of 44, so 10 higher, a public transportation score of 28, so 6 higher than Castleberry, and a bike score of 53, just 4 points higher than Castleberry. So we're right there. We're in the range, in the ballpark of Winter Park. Another stat would be the community of Edgewater, which had a much lower walk score of 15 0 transit score and 43 bike. So we're in the middle, we're in the median, but I think we're in the upper half of Central Florida, greater Orlando area.
Yeah, I'm not sure what to do with
What does that mean for us?
I'm not
Are you more interested in biking now because to get these scores up?
Well, no, and just to say those numbers are rather boring to me, but I've learned that you're good at math, doing math in your head quickly. Good way to show the variables there. But
I'm a graduate of What's Up Castleberry U.
You got a diploma hanging on your wall.
I do.
But I tell you what, I mean, I do think those are important things. When I look at our community and the things I love about our community, and when I think about the future of our community and what will move us forward, it is things like parks and trails and places where people can rest and work out and spend time developing relationships that are going to strengthen us as a community. So, not quite sure what to make of those stats, but I love the fact that our leaders, and we here as well, are saying, hey, we've got a good start in terms of our parks and our trails and our paths. Let's take them to the next level. I get up, I walk or run or ride most days, and I am all for as many more routes as we can.
That's right. Totally agree. And same. And one of the things that seems to be in our first 20 plus conversations and episodes is the emphasis on our parks, that's one of the real gems, highlights of our city. And so any focused indicators to want to improve those parks, create new avenues for transportation and transit, and getting our people outside is a positive thing. So thank you, Castleberry, and our leaders for pursuing that. Well, now, Andy, let's move to our listener question portion of the episode. If you have a question or a comment, listeners, we want to hear from you. You can reach out to us and connect with us in a multitude of platforms. You can go to the podcast feed, What's Up Castleberry, and send us a message there. I've seen a few ratings and reviews. Apparently, in the podcast world, if you give us 5 stars, indicating that you're happy with the service that you are receiving, this is completely free to you. We would love that. And apparently we go up the chart. So leave us a review, leave us a rating, comment on our feed, What's Up Castleberry. You can also go to our Facebook page, our Instagram page, also with the name What's Up Castleberry. Or you can check out our still new website, whatsupcastleberry.com. Today's question.
We are a multi-platformed organization, aren't we?
We are. We've got many arms.
Now, can we delete ratings that are less than 5? Do we have that capability, Producer Robin? All right. So if you want to give us less than 5, don't bother.
That's right. That's right. I think our walk score, though, our podcast is pretty good. We got 2 walkers in the group. Well, today's question says this. What do you guys notice? So this is obviously somebody that's been listening. What do you guys notice when you re-listen to your episodes? Do you have certain words or phrases you use on a regular basis? I know listening to yourself can be difficult. You both do a great job. Wow. Thank you for the compliment. Appreciate that feedback.
Was that your mom again?
May or may not have been. Yeah. Thank you, Producer Robin.
You know, I read this question. I enjoy this one. I don't know about you, but I do listen to the podcast afterwards. I also listen to the messages that I give on Sunday afterwards as well. And it makes me cringe. It makes me cringe. I think I'm pretty confident in the moment, but when I'm listening or watching back, I'm like, oh my goodness, what was I doing? Why did I say that? And you really see some of the little miscommunication things. So here you go. Here's my vulnerability, the reasons that make me cringe. I interrupt you too much, Drew, so I apologize for that. My jokes aren't always as funny as I think they are, and when they're not funny, I laugh louder. Have you heard that? Robin's like nodding her head, and I don't know how that works. I will say I'm really struggling at church because, you know, I'll tell a couple of jokes and I think, hey, this is engaging, this is funny. Why is no one even smiling? And then I realize they've all got masks on now, and so I can't, you know, so I don't know, maybe I'm losing my confidence. I and too much. So yeah, I cringe when I re-listen.
Yeah, that is vulnerable, and I would agree. You do all those things, but so do I. And yes, I definitely felt early on particularly listening to the first handful of episodes, there was a lot of awkward pauses or the desire to not have a pause and just jump in too quickly. Now I feel like there's much more of a natural, organic rapport back and forth. We think we are funny to one another. We crack each other up, even if our listeners maybe don't. So one thing that I know that I do is I say the word and I also am quick to cut somebody off in the middle of...
What was that? Stop.
There's the interruption. And what's funny, though, in terms of speaking, this is an audio format, so you don't see our faces and our body language. But when I'm speaking now, having a young child at home and doing a lot of soothing and rocking baby back and forth, I've been told by my church congregation that the last couple of Sundays, I now have this habit as I'm standing up on the platform, sharing announcements or leading in prayer or whatever, that I am now doing the quote dad sway, where I'm kind of swaying back and forth.
Interesting.
Like I'm trying to rock a baby and relax them, which I do many hours during the middle of the night. So
interesting. When I first started speaking, I was a rocker too. Not in my arms and rocking a baby, but I would rock back and forwards, move left and right, and I think that was a nervous thing. Yeah.
Probably some of that too. Well, thank you, listener, who will be unnamed, for your great question.
Yeah, before we move on, I just want to say,
we have room for improvement, that is for sure. But we are thankful that we have listeners who...
There's another of my jokes that I thought was funny, but you guys didn't. So
you're showing us graciousness just by tuning in again.
Let me laugh louder just to make it funny.
Well, that was our listener question. Again, we'd love to hear from you. Let's take a break and we will hear from our sponsor. Today's sponsor is Kelly Financial Solutions. Travis Kelly was a recent podcast guest. And oh man, I loved hearing from Travis. He and his coworkers at Kelly Financial Solutions are about helping find a great mortgage rate. Andy, I don't know if you know this, but now is a good time to buy a home. Mortgage rates are low.
I should call Travis.
You should call Travis Kelly at Kelly Financial Solutions. Travis has been in Castleberry for over 15 years, and I'm going to read one of his quotes right on the website from a satisfied customer. This comes from a woman named Amanda. She says, as a first-time home buyer, I don't think Travis and his team could have made things any easier and any smoother. Every question was answered, every call returned promptly, absolutely every transaction. I would recommend to anyone in the market for a mortgage, Kelly Financial Solutions. So there you have it. We don't know Amanda, but it sounds like it was a good, successful experience for her. We've enjoyed getting to know Travis.
Maybe she heard about Travis and his company from listening to the podcast.
I hope so. Yeah. Hi, Amanda. Let us know if you're listening. You can contact Travis through phone. His number is 407-618-1176. And their website is wearecleartoclose.com. Wearecleartoclose.com. Thank you, Kelly Financial Solutions and Travis Kelly, for being a sponsor. We'll be back with our guest.
Hello, listeners. Welcome back to What's Up, Castleberry. This is my favorite part of the show, our interview. And this week and next week, we have a very special guest, Pastor Andre Martin, who is a pastor at Divine Truth Christian Center. Andre is one of my favorite folks in the city. He's a guy who has a calendar that seems to have more hours in it every day than mine and yours does, Drew. Somehow, he managed to squeeze about 36 hours worth of work into a 24-hour period. He has a full-time professional job. He pastors full-time. He's raising an incredible family. I don't know when he sleeps. Are you sleeping now?
No, I don't sleep. One person told me that I think it was Ed Savoso said that sleep is for slackers.
Sleep is for... Hey, but you just had a birthday. You know that's not true. Sleep is for old men like us.
Yeah, that's what old men. See, that's how he feels. He's a gentleman that transformed your world. He's actually a great man of God, church planner from Argentina, actually. And I didn't quite get that revelation, but I will tell you that I love what I do. And but I will say that rest is good and it is necessary. But yeah, I like to work hard, but I'm trying to even learn more now how to be efficient.
Beautiful. Andre, tell us about what it is you do. You said your work. Andy did a beautiful job introducing you. Tell us about yourself and your involvement in Castleberry.
So I am a bivocational pastor. I have been working in information technology for almost 19 years now. And
that means you're pretty smart.
Well, I really work hard at my craft. I actually started off in the medical field first as an occupational therapist. That's what I went to college for, but then that didn't quite work out. I tried to pass the test and couldn't pass the test, so I told my mom and my dad, I was like, I want to try something different, and I want to go a different path. And so they was like, okay, son, well, whatever you choose, we're behind you 110%. And so from that particular standpoint, I went on and I worked trying to break into the IT field. I even remember one job that I had, they said that I was going to be working in maintenance, and this was at Coleman Aerospace, but little did I know that it was actually as a janitor working maintenance. And so that's when I had that epiphany. I was like, okay, I have to really, really get engaged in this. And so one of my fraternity brothers from many years ago, he said, hey, Andre, you really made really good party flyers while we were in school. Have you ever thought about computers? And so I was like, oh, well, no, I never thought about that. But then I remember my parents getting me a Commodore 64. For all my millennials,
Commodore 64, I had one of those.
64 is kind of like the Tandy 5000 era. Just look it up. It's on Wikipedia. It has nice little sepia-looking
Wikipedia, it's in the Encyclopedia Britannia.
Yes. The books, the tangible books. It's inside a library section. So I had a Commodore 64 and I had an Atari, and I remember taking it apart and putting it back together and being very intrigued by it. And so that's how I got into IT.
So you start off in a different field, but looking at your resume, you've got like 10 different degrees. Can we call you Dr. Martin yet? I know you're working on that.
I'm working on my doctorate in theology. Hopefully I'll graduate this year if all else works out really good. But yeah, I love learning. I love learning about things that are about the church, and I also like to learn about things in information technology.
Yeah. So you work in IT, but you're a pastor. God has called you to be a pastor at Divine Truth Christian Center. Tell us about your initial vision for that church and how you're fulfilling that vision today in our city here in Castleberry.
Well, we started in 2010, and actually we started in Maitland, Florida. Had just my wife. I found our little charter from 10 years ago. We're actually going to put it up in our church today, but we actually started in Maitland, Florida, just setting up and breaking down. We had our meetings inside of our house. And so we were really building the ministry from the ground up. And then 5 months later, we ended up getting a building in Winter Park. Stayed there for about 4.5 years until the plaza went through this transformation, and we actually ended up getting booted out of that place. It was a very traumatic time for our church.
Didn't you have like a week or so to move facilities?
Literally,
crazy. I remember that.
Yeah, it literally was like a week, and I did not have a place for the people to go. And I know that I didn't want to go into the hotel situation because we came from a ministry that was inside of a hotel. And there's nothing wrong with going in hotels, but it's just I know that it wears on people to do the setup and breakdown for an extended period of time, especially in the ministry that we came from. That we did it for like 7 or 8 years in a row. So it was a very long period of time. And so I didn't have any keys anywhere. I was in tears with boxes stacked up to the ceiling and wondering what we're going to do. But then lo and behold, God pointed us in the direction of Anchor Road. And I talked with Jim and Loretta de Salvatore. They actually had some space that was there. And we couldn't afford it. It was too big for us. But somehow, some way, God said this was the place. And we've been there for now it'll be 5 years.
Beautiful. Well, and you've filled out that space too with the daycare center for kids.
Yes, definitely. We have Truth Learning Academy is the name of the daycare that we started in 2018. It is a fully licensed daycare, also religiously exempt. So we teach not only the curriculum that you would find in traditional daycares, but we also have a biblically based daycare, being that we talk about different biblical principles and the like. And so it's a really wonderful endeavor. That is my wife's business. We also rent out the space for different events, and it is also where our church is located.
Andre, that's really, really fantastic. We're very proud of our preschool here as well. And knowing that all that's involved in that's a huge, huge undertaking. The first time we met, you may not remember this, but it was at a Castleberry Chamber of Commerce kind of introductory breakfast at the police station. And I remember you had mentioned at the time you had just moved from Maitland to Castleberry. And that's something that I've always admired about not only you, but Divine Truth as a whole, is just having a foot in the community. Would you share just Divine Truth Center's kind of mission and vision towards its posture in regards to reaching the community?
Well, we have two different arms. We have a faith-based arm, which is faith, family, finances, and worship. In other words, we minister to the total man. What that basically means is that we have a holistic approach to ministry. That's part A, restoration ministry, basically restoring people back to where they would like to be, or what we would to say in the church world, back into the image and likeness of God and what he intended for people. But then we also have a marketplace piece, which is we want to be a socioeconomic engine for the actual community. And so we want to be a business incubator, help people get their businesses off the ground. I love entrepreneurship. Our goal, of course, yes, is to have a daycare, but we also want to have a restaurant in the future, as well as a couple of other businesses. We actually have 7 different business plans that we want to launch over the next up and coming years. And so we not only want to just, preach the gospel, we want to also be, as St. Francis of Assisi said, preach the gospel, but use words if necessary. Mm-hmm. Because there could be some people that you can actually reach through employment and giving them jobs to work with and just having those good conversations. So we have a restoration side to our ministry and a marketplace side.
I love that. Every time I talk to you, Andre, there's something new that you're working on. You are a leader of great vision. I know one of those visions that you have and hold dear as a church, as Drew and I do as well, is a vision for racial reconciliation. Yes. And we're living in a very difficult time right now where we're realizing a lot of the sin and evil in our nation as it manifests itself in all kinds of injustice. A question that everybody's asking right now is, what can we do about some of the racial reconciliation needs in our society? I realize that's a huge question, but how would you begin to answer that?
Well, as many of you all may know, we had a prayer and peace walk just recently with the other churches in the area to be a catalyst for what we wanted to do in order to kind of start a conversation. And I think that is very important, is just to be able to talk with people, because there are some people that will not listen. Mm-hmm. As some people would say, individuals can be set in their ways, which basically means some people are very prideful. I am reminded of when the scripture says that love covers a multitude of sins. And so typically in those particular cases, you say what you have to say and then you move on. But there are a lot of people who really want to try to get rid of some of the blind spots that they have in regards to how they deal with people that do not look like them. And so for those individuals, I believe that you should have sit-down conversations and be able to work through specific things. And sometimes it's not going to be overnight. Sometimes it's going to be over a period of months or even years by being consistent in your position. And then also realizing that not everybody is in the church world. Some people have a worldview that's based on a political framework. And so when they see the world through those type of lens, then you have to basically dissect, okay, some of the buzzwords that you would see, such as what is cultural Marxism? What is virtue signaling? Mm-hmm. What about what Candace Owens is saying? What about the lady who did the experiment with the brown and blue eyes and about what she is saying? So there's different types of buzzwords that's out there. And what is the essence of Black Lives Matter? And how can you separate that out of the political agenda that maybe a group like that may have versus the pure side of it that really is talking about the life of Black people, which I'm very... It's a particular topic that's near and dear to my heart. And so to be able to separate out those things and detangle issues and not let sometimes competing organizations start putting their agenda in there, especially during election years. Sometimes you start seeing things flare up a little bit, to try to detangle those things and then just stay strictly focused on the specific area. I think that is very important.
Yeah, I love that. And not to share too much because we haven't worked it out yet, but the prayer and peace walk was really supposed to be a step one of bringing reconciliation within our city, within our relationships, strengthening the unity that we have. And so grateful that you hosted that and led that so well for our community. I think we probably had about 300 people come out, which I know blew all of us away. But the next challenge for us is to say, how do we create conversations in our community? And so you and I have talked privately, maybe we can just share a little bit publicly about where we'd like to go now in those reconciliation conversations in our community.
Well, I would say the first step is just to have a willing heart and be willing to come to the table. I think that's step number one. Yeah. And also to not be intimidated by that. I think that it was very important. I heard some individuals talk about safe spaces in order to really share their ideas and even some of the implicit biases that they may have. I think that a lot of people are aware of explicit bias. The grotesque situation that happened on social media, but then there's a lot of implicit bias, just the way that you carry yourself, or if you see a group of people of color that's in a specific neighborhood and you're not used to seeing that, then sometimes the very first thing is, okay, what are you doing here? Or are you supposed to be here? Well, you have to think about, okay, well, where does that come from? What have you seen in your life that makes you think that is the case? Is it news reports? Is it how you were raised? A lot of people think that the situation with segregation was like 300 years ago, but no, it was. There's people that are walking around and that are living to this day that actually live through that particular area and still have some of those feelings from that particular era. Yeah. And so they might be in nursing homes now, they may be a boomer right now, but some of them still have a very clear picture of what happened during those times.
Yeah. So what are some of the things that you think we need to be talking about as a community as we address this issue?
Well, one of the things that I propose to the group of individuals that I'm working with is 7 steps to reconciliation. And like I said, the very first step is just coming to the table.
I think it's important to say that group you're working with pastors, law enforcement personnel, some city officials. It really is a community together issue.
Yes,
not just a church thing.
Yeah, it's not just a church issue, because I think that the church should be a good example of how you could tackle things that cannot be covered by legislation. I think Martin Luther King said it so poignantly. He said that legislation, you can't legislate morality, and I'm paraphrasing here, but it can help redirect certain behaviors. And so I think that it's necessary for us to have good civic leaders that want to participate, that are not looking for photo ops, but basically really want to help, because society is changing and things are becoming more diverse just by natural people coming together, as well as birth rates. All of those things are happening. And so you might as well go ahead and get in front of it now, because it's not going to change anytime soon. So one of the solutions that we did come up with for the people that want to participate, or these 7 steps, are, number one, just having a session at a specific facility that's talking about how to remove pride and prejudice. Because a lot of these things are just heart issues. You can't really come up with a policy in order to change that. But the conversation is just number one. That's number one. Number two, talking about the second commandment. Well, okay, what is that? Loving your neighbor. What does that really mean, neighbor? A neighbor is not a sister or a brother. They could be a sister or a brother, but it's not necessarily a sister or brother. This is somebody that you're in close proximity to. What is their construct? What is their worldview on things? Like with the pandemic, many of us did not really talk to people until we had to go outside. I know in our neighborhood, you can go for years without talking to people, and then all of a sudden, oh, you do live over there. I think that is so important. So I think that's so important. And then the next one is, what politics have to do with it? I do believe in the separation of church and state for some areas, but I also believe that you should be able to navigate your way through all different types of people without gaslighting situations. So we have to be able to talk to individuals that have different worldviews. Number 4, how to engage with law enforcement. Number 5, it all starts at home. In other words, what are those private conversations that you have? What happens when mama and when papa comes from a different region of the country, and they have those private conversations when they see Colin Kaepernick on the screen? What is that conversation like? And then what is being said or what is not being said? There's this one thing that I, as I conclude with the different areas, there's what we would call the sin of omission and the sin of commission. The sin of omission is basically when you know better and know that you could get yourself involved, but you decide to wash your hands of it.
Yeah.
Versus like what Pilate did. Well, yeah, I could get involved right here, but I'm gonna wash my hands of it because this is you guys' problem. So I think that's very important to highlight that. And then number 6, how we got here, a good history lesson, because some people really don't know how all of this came about. This is not a new thing. This has been around for centuries. It goes all the way back to England and what happened from 1619 all the way up until right now.
We've got a Brit in our mix.
Sorry. Yes, but there's a historical element that's there too. And then you also have to address the elephant in the room, which is how people feel. Okay, well, yes, 1619, Andy was not born. Neither was I. So how do you deal with people?
We were a couple of years after, weren't we?
Two. I look great. But I mean, you have to tackle, basically how to talk with people who were not there when those specific things happen, and how to put that in a separate category from the attitudes that still persist from that time up until now. And so some of those things, when it's so ingrained into a culture, you really don't really notice it until it comes to the surface like it is during this moment in time. And then finally, having courageous conversations. So now that you get educated on those specific pieces, how to actually talk together, and like we're doing right now, and talking through some things in a safe manner, and then bringing the right people to the table. I do not claim to speak for the entire African American population in Central Florida or Castleberry for that matter. But I do believe that you have to have the right type of people that can speak intelligently about specific type of issues, because my agenda is love and respect and equal footing as much as possible in this world that we live in.
Man, that is incredible. I know personally, I'm super excited. I know our church members and community will be looking forward to those ongoing conversations. As you said at the top of that, those 7 conversations, and obviously others will kind of be spread out over time at different events in Castleberry. Andre, something that is, for me, very tangible and this kind of nebulous, right? There's so many different forms of media and ways in which to read and engage with information. Could you give the listeners, and I'm going to be writing this down, some helpful, whether it be a podcast, a book, a resource or two, something that would help, particularly, I would say, the white listeners, including myself, to just be able to discern and understand and hear and learn a bit more in regards to this conversation.
Well, if you want satire and irony, just go to the Babylon.
frequent.
It could well be we've got too much of that.
And irony. But no, there's some good resources that are out there,
including your podcast. Please.
Yeah, definitely. Our podcast is called Soul Therapy Live. It's on Buzzsprout. That's the specific platform that it's on, and we talk about murder hornets all the way to whether Michael Jordan is the greatest of all time, and I believe that he is.
Me too.
To different types of political issues and also issues that are very firm. So that's one particular.
And that's resource. Soul Therapy Live.
Soul Therapy Live is one particular resource. And then there's tons of books that are out there. I'm an article reader versus a book reader. I do have lots of books. I don't always remember the title of them all. I'm more so into like the wonky theological apologetics type thing. I'm a study of history. So the Aleppo Codex is not something I think that anybody would really want to be into. Or it's Codex Sinaiticus. That's the type of stuff that I like to read. But
that's why you're Dr. Martin.
That's right.
So I like those detailed type things. But I will say this: there's lots of resources that's out there. One particular gentleman that I think is a great resource. He's an Anglican, but his name is Esau Macaulay, and he has a nice Facebook page that has talks through a lot of issues. He is a doctor. He goes to Wheatley College. Very, very, very titan in regards to specific types of issues when it comes to the church and he detangles things very well. And then of course Pastor Kevin Labby has a really good hold on how to see things. Actually, on his Facebook wall today, he has this great post by this one particular gentleman that really dissects critical race theory, Marxism, where a lot of these things come from, because most of the time, especially nowadays, things are in vines. Is that old? I know that's old. That's too old. Yeah. Okay.
You're such an old man.
Yes.
Just to say, I'm 2 weeks older than you.
So vines. But most people, if a video is beyond a minute, they're not going to look at it. If it's longer than a 2-minute read, they're not going to read it. But that's how you are able to detangle a lot of those things, because there are some people in certain communities that use that as a way to dismiss the entire situation, which that is not the case. We have to talk about those specific things.
It's part of our soundbite culture, which has created so many problems. I read the article. It's very helpful. Drew, I'm encouraging my church, I know you are too, to read a book, the same book we copied you, by Tony Perkins.
John Perkins.
Yes. Sorry, called One Blood. And I just started that this morning, and I'm very impressed. Real strong stuff.
The Gospel Coalition has a lot of really good articles right now. And they are pretty even-handed. They could have a tendency to tackle with issues that raise ire with the left and the right. And so I think that they've had a good series of articles on their website that have come out just recently. So I would definitely encourage that you also look at those places.
And we'll put the links to our list on our show notes and things like that. We have to wrap up for this episode. This has been a slightly longer interview than normal, but that's very appropriate because it's such an important issue of which we all have a responsibility to address. But here's the good news. Pastor Andre, should we say Dr. Andre? Is it too soon for that? We'll wait. We'll have you back when you're a doctor, right. when you're legit,
like
official.
5 years from now.
But he's going to be back next week, and we will continue our conversation then. So for now, Andre, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Wow, that was great, wasn't it? We were certainly blessed, and I hope our listeners were as well, to hear the wisdom from Andre. What a brother he has been for a long time, and I look forward to journeying with him. He is a man of great inspiration. But Drew, as we prepare to wrap up the podcast, you have some more inspiration for me and for producer Robin and our listeners as well.
I sure do. I'm so thankful that there's men like Andre who is an African-American who loves Jesus and who loves his community and people in it. And another African-American minister, a man named John Perkins, who wrote a book called One Blood that my church, and Andy, I know your church, we're encouraging just friends and podcast listeners to read and enjoy and embrace. John Perkins says this in the book One Blood: you don't give people dignity, you affirm it. You don't give people dignity, you affirm it. And I think that's a beautiful truth, that the reality is we don't have the ability, and frankly, we don't have the power to give people the dignity of worth, that worth comes from someone greater, namely, we believe, our Creator. And so what does it look like to affirm a person's dignity? Well, as we've talked about many times, and even in our conversation today with Pastor Andre, affirming dignity looks like moving towards people, having real conversations, not just making assumptions based on a person's maybe exterior appearance, but moving towards people in community, having conversations, showing and demonstrating compassion and understanding and listening well. And that's just a few of the ways in which we seek to affirm individuals' dignity. I know I'm speaking to myself as much as anyone else and wanting and desiring to do that. So you don't give people dignity, you affirm it. Thank you, John Perkins.
Thank you, Drew, for that word. Friends, we hope you've enjoyed this episode of the What's Up Castleberry podcast, a casual conversation about our community. This podcast is produced by Robin Kepi and James Bittner. The music by Jeremy Birdsall and graphics by Christian Moscoso. For more information, please check out our website, www.whatsupcastleberry.com, and on there you will find links to our Facebook page, Instagram feed, and of course the podcast feed, all of which you can find under the name What's Up Castleberry. Like, subscribe, as Drew said, give us a 5-star rating. And until next time, we look forward to being with you.